Welcome back. Today's video takes us on a fascinating journey through the world of British numismatics, focusing on one of the most iconic coins in the United Kingdom, the 1 penny. Though these humble copper coins once jingled in the pockets of everyday people, some rare examples have become incredibly valuable, fetching thousands of dollars at major auctions. In this video, we'll explore the top 10 most valuable UK 1 penny coins, diving into their history, rarity, collector demand, and current auction values in dollars. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your numismatic journey, this list will leave you amazed at the hidden treasures hiding behind the simple 1 penny coin. So let's get started. First up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1936. At first glance, it may look like just another old copper coin, but when we take a closer look, we discover its historical significance, its rarity in certain conditions, and the surprising value it can fetch in the auction market, even in circulated condition. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, this is a coin worth learning about. The year 1936 holds a very special place in British history. It is famously known as the Year of the Three Kings. Within that single year, the throne of the United Kingdom saw King George V pass away, King Edward VIII ascend but abdicate shortly after, and King George VI begin his reign. Because of this, the coins minted in 1936 carry with them a unique historical backdrop. The 1 penny coin of that year was struck under the reign of King George V, who died in January 1936. His portrait still appears on the obverse of the penny, and very few coins were produced later in the year due to the transition between monarchs. This unusual historical timeline makes the 1936 penny more than just a piece of copper. It's a witness to one of the most turbulent years in the British monarchy. The 1936 1 penny was struck in bronze, with a weight of 9.4 grams and a diameter of 30.8 millimeters. On the obverse, it features the left-facing portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal. The reverse showcases Britannia, seated with a trident and shielded design that had been on British pennies for decades. Collectors often admire the coin's bold, traditional look that reflects Britain's identity and power during the early 20th century. Even in circulated condition, these design elements remain visible, though naturally softened by wear. Now let's talk about rarity. While the 1936 penny was minted in relatively high numbers, its importance lies in the historical year it represents. Collectors of royal and British history, as well as those who collect pennies by year, actively seek this coin. High-grade examples in uncirculated or proof condition are extremely rare and can command huge prices at auction. Even circulated examples are in demand because they represent a direct link to King George V's final year on the throne. The rarity increases when collectors look for coins in extra fine or better conditions, but even worn circulated versions are far from being ignored. So, what is the 1936 penny worth in today's auction market? In circulated condition, values can range between $25,100, depending on the degree of wear and the overall eye appeal of the coin. Better preserved circulated examples may fetch higher prices, sometimes reaching up to $35,100 at auction. However, uncirculated or proof examples, though not our focus today, can sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. It's this wide price gap that makes the 1936 penny so intriguing, especially for new collectors who can affordably acquire a circulated coin that still carries rich historical value. If you're thinking about adding a 1936 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. First, always pay attention to the coin's condition. Even small differences in grade can significantly affect the value. Look for coins with clear details on the king's portrait and Britannia's figure, as these are the first areas to wear down. Second, when buying online or at auction, ensure you're purchasing from reputable sellers to avoid counterfeits or altered coins. Finally, consider the historical importance of 1936. Owning this penny isn't just about copper and design. It's about holding a piece of British royal history in your hands. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1936 is more than just a circulated coin from nearly a century ago. It's a tangible reminder of the Year of the Three Kings, carrying with it stories of monarchy, change, and tradition. While not the rarest penny ever minted, its historical significance and demand among collectors give it a strong place in the numismatic world. Next up, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of British numismatics. Our spotlight is on the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1916, a coin that continues to capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. Even in lightly worn condition, this coin holds significant historical value and can fetch impressive prices in auctions. You'll understand why this coin is so special, how rare it truly is, and what makes it such a sought-after piece in the market today. The year 1916 was one of the most turbulent periods in modern history, as the First World War was raging across Europe. During this time, the British Royal Mint continued producing coins for everyday circulation, including the humble penny. The 1 penny coin was struck in bronze, a composition introduced in 1860, replacing the older copper coins. The obverse features the portrait of King George V, who reigned from 1910 to 1936. His reign was marked by the Great War, political changes, and the early decline of the British Empire. This coin, minted in 1916, is therefore not just a piece of currency, but also a tangible connection to one of the most defining eras in British history. The 1916 1 penny coin stands out with its classic design. On the obverse, we see the left-facing portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal. The Latin inscription around the portrait reads Georgius Vide Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex Fid. Def. Ind. Imp, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse of the coin showcases the traditional image of Britannia, seated with her shield and trident, a symbol of Britain's naval strength and imperial power. The denomination 1 penny and the date, 1916, are displayed clearly. Even in lightly worn condition, the detailing remains sharp enough to reveal the artistry and craftsmanship of the Royal Mint during this period. Although millions of pennies were minted during the reign of George V, coins from the war years, including 1916, have become increasingly rare in higher grades. Most of these pennies circulated heavily, meaning that finding a piece in lightly worn condition is not as easy as it may seem. Collectors are particularly drawn to these coins because they represent a crucial moment in history, blending both numismatic and historical significance. The demand is further fueled by the fact that many 1916 pennies were melted down or lost over time, reducing the surviving numbers available for collectors today. Now, let's talk about what really excites collectors: the value. In lightly worn condition, a 1916 1 penny can sell anywhere between $15,000 depending on its eye appeal and strike quality. However, coins in higher grades, especially those graded by professional services, can reach $27,100 or more in auctions. Exceptional uncirculated examples, though extremely rare, have been known to sell for several $100s, proving that even a humble penny can hold big value in the collector's market. The historical connection to World War I only adds to the premium buyers are willing to pay. If you're thinking about adding a 1916 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. First, always check the condition. Carefully lightly worn coins with clear details are far more desirable than heavily circulated ones. Look for coins with strong definition in Britannia's trident and King George V's facial features, as these are the areas most prone to wear. Second, try to source coins from reputable dealers or auction houses to avoid counterfeits. Finally, if you already own a 1916 penny, consider having it graded by a professional service. A certified grade can significantly increase its value in the marketplace. The 1916 United Kingdom 1 penny is more than just an old coin. It's a relic of the First World War, a symbol of Britain's strength, and a cherished collectible in the world of numismatics. Even in lightly worn condition, it carries both historical and monetary value, making it a must-have for serious collectors. Whether you're drawn to its design, its connection to King George V, or its growing value in auctions, this coin proves that sometimes the smallest denominations tell the biggest stories. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British coinage by exploring the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1929 in very fine condition. While at first glance this coin may look like just another old copper penny, it carries with it a rich history, unique design features, and a surprising market value for collectors. If you're into rare coins, numismatics, or simply curious about the treasures hidden in everyday change, the 1929 1 penny was struck during the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 until his death in 1936. This period marked a transitional era in British history, between the First World War and the approach of World War II. The penny itself was a part of the long-standing pre-decimal currency system, where 240 pennies equaled £1. At the time, the penny was one of the most widely used denominations in everyday transactions, especially among working-class communities. Minted in bronze, these coins carried not only monetary value but also cultural significance, as they symbolized Britain's industrial age and imperial reach. The 1929 1 penny has several standout features. On the obverse, we see the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal. His image is surrounded by the Latin inscription, Georgius Vide Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex Fid. Def. Ind. Imp, meaning George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, the coin displays the iconic seated Britannia holding a trident and shielded design by Leonard Charles Wyon that had been used on pennies for decades. The coin was struck in bronze, weighs around 9.4 grams, and has a diameter of 30.8 millimeters. Its large, heavy feel and detailed artwork make it a very attractive piece for collectors. While millions of pennies were struck in the late 1920s, the 1929 issue has become increasingly rare, especially in higher grades like very fine condition. Over time, most of these coins were worn down through circulation, melted, or lost. Very fine specimens, where the king's portrait and Britannia remain sharp with only moderate wear, are not commonly found today. This scarcity in quality has driven demand among collectors. British pre-decimal pennies are already a popular series to collect, and coins from the reign of George V, particularly those from the 1920s and 1930s, enjoy strong interest worldwide. Now, let's talk about the part every collector is eager to know: the market value. In circulated grades, a 1929 penny may only fetch a few dollars. However, when preserved in very fine condition, its value can jump significantly. Auction records and collector sales show these coins selling anywhere between $55,100 depending on eye appeal and preservation. For even higher grades, such as extremely fine or uncirculated, the value can climb even further, sometimes reaching several $1,000s. This demonstrates how condition plays a critical role in determining the coin's true market worth. If you're considering adding a 1929 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. First, always check the condition carefully. Details on the king's crown and Britannia's shield should be visible for very fine grades. Second, be wary of cleaned or damaged coins, as these can drastically reduce value. Third, consider purchasing from reputable dealers or established auctions to ensure authenticity. Finally, remember that coins like these are not only investments but also historical artifacts. Preserving them properly in a protective case or album will keep their beauty intact for years to come. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1929 is more than just an old coin. It's a piece of history from the reign of King George V, a snapshot of Britain's cultural heritage, and a sought-after collectible in today's numismatic market. In very fine condition, it holds strong appeal and can command impressive auction prices in dollars. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a beginner just starting out, coins like these remind us of the stories hidden in small pieces of metal. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British numismatics with a spotlight on the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1949. At first glance, this coin may appear like any other pre-decimal penny, but when preserved in extra fine condition, it becomes a highly desirable treasure in the collector's market. Its rarity, historical background, and rising demand make it a coin that can fetch an impressive value in auctions, sometimes surprising even experienced coin hunters. So, let's explore what makes the 1949 1 penny so special. The 1949 1 penny belongs to the reign of King George VI, who served as monarch from 1936 until 1952. This was a significant period in British history, coming just after World War II. Britain was in the process of rebuilding its economy, and coin production was crucial to maintaining stability in everyday commerce. The 1 penny coin, part of the pre-decimal system, was widely used and played an important role in trade and daily life. What sets the 1949 issue apart is that only a limited number of pennies were minted that year, making it scarcer than many other dates in the series. The 1949 penny showcases classic British design elements. On the obverse, we see the left-facing portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. It captures the strength and dignity of the monarch during a time of recovery and transition. The reverse side, designed by Leonard Charles Wyon, features the iconic figure of Britannia seated with a trident and shield, a symbol of British naval power and resilience. Struck in bronze and measuring 30.8 millimeters in diameter, the coin maintains the traditional penny style that collectors admire. When preserved in extra fine condition, the sharp details of Britannia's gown, the trident, and the king's portrait truly stand out, making the coin visually impressive. One of the reasons the 1949 penny is considered rare lies in its limited mintage. While millions of pennies were produced during George VI's reign, the 1949 issue had far fewer struck compared to surrounding years. Additionally, many coins went into circulation and suffered heavy wear from daily use, leaving far fewer examples in top condition. As a result, finding a 1949 1 penny in extra fine condition is exceptionally difficult. Collectors around the world, especially those building a complete set of George VI pennies, are always on the lookout for well-preserved examples of this year, which pushes demand higher and higher. Now, let's talk about what everyone wants to know: the market value. A circulated 1949 penny may only be worth a few dollars, but in extra fine condition, the value rises sharply. Auction records show that well-preserved examples can sell for anywhere between $35,500, depending on the sharpness of the strike and overall eye appeal. In some cases, coins with exceptional luster or minimal marks have sold for even higher prices, making them a solid investment for collectors. Considering its historical background and scarcity, the 1949 penny in top grade remains a valuable piece of British numismatic history. If you're looking to add a 1949 one penny to your collection, here are some tips. First, always pay attention to condition. Look for coins where the details of Britannia and the portrait of King George VI are sharp, with minimal wear. Second, try to buy from reputable dealers or established auction houses to avoid counterfeits or misgraded coins. Third, consider proper storage methods such as coin capsules or acid-free holders to maintain its quality over time. And finally, always keep an eye on auction trends, because the value of coins like the 1949 penny can fluctuate based on demand and availability. The United Kingdom one penny of 1949 in extra fine condition is more than just a piece of bronze. It's a reflection of post-war Britain, a coin steeped in history, and a prized collectible due to its rarity. For those lucky enough to own one, it's not just a part of numismatic heritage, but also a potential investment with strong auction value in today's market. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, the 1949 penny is a coin that deserves a place in your collection. Next up, we'll be diving into the fascinating world of British pre-decimal coins, focusing on one of the most well-known and collectible pieces, the United Kingdom one penny from 1964. At first glance, this coin may look ordinary, but in very fine condition, it holds historical importance and notable value in today's numismatic market. We'll explore its history, unique design, rarity, and what makes it stand out in auctions, where collectors are often willing to pay big money in dollars for the right example. The 1964 one penny belongs to the pre-decimal coinage of the United Kingdom, minted before the currency system switched to decimalization in 1971. This penny was struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, making it one of the early issues of her long and historic rule. Millions of these coins were produced for circulation, but despite the high mintage, only well-preserved coins have survived the test of time. For collectors, this coin represents more than just copper. It's a piece of mid-20th century British history, linking back to an era when Britannia still graced the reverse of the humble penny. The 1964 one penny carries a highly recognizable design. On the obverse, you'll find the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by sculptor Mary Gillick. This portrait was used on British coins from 1953 to 1970 and remains one of the most elegant and admired images of the Queen. The reverse features the iconic seated Britannia holding a trident and shield, a symbol of strength and national pride. The coin was struck in bronze, with a weight of 9.4 grams and a diameter of 30.8 millimeters, making it a large and substantial coin compared to today's pennies. Its combination of size, design, and historical context makes it especially attractive to collectors. Now, you may be wondering if millions of 1964 pennies were made. What makes this coin rare? The answer lies in condition. While common in worn or circulated states, finding a 1964 penny in very fine or higher condition is much less common. Many of these coins were heavily used in circulation, and as a result, scratches, wear, and discoloration are often present. Collectors today specifically seek out well-preserved examples with sharp details and minimal wear. In very fine condition, the coin shows strong details of Britannia and a clear portrait of the Queen, making it highly desirable. The combination of historical charm and limited high-quality survivors has kept demand strong at auctions and private sales. So, what about its value in circulated condition? A 1964 penny might only be worth a small amount above face value. However, in very fine condition, prices rise considerably. Collectors are often willing to pay between $16,200 for a very fine example, depending on eye appeal and specific grading. Higher-grade coins, such as extremely fine or uncirculated, can fetch even more, sometimes reaching $31,200 at auctions. The value might not seem astronomical compared to ultra-rare coins, but considering its common mintage, the market for high-quality 1964 pennies is surprisingly strong, and prices continue to rise as collectors seek better preserved pieces. If you're interested in adding the 1964 one penny to your collection, here are a few tips. First, Always check the condition. Focus on coins with sharp details, minimal wear, and good luster if possible. Pay close attention to Britannia's shield and trident, as these are areas that often show wear first. Secondly, if buying at auctions or online, look for coins graded by reputable numismatic authorities for added security. Lastly, remember that coins stored properly in protective holders or albums maintain their value much better over time. Investing in quality rather than quantity is always the smarter choice for collectors aiming for long-term value. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1964 may seem like a simple copper coin, but in very fine condition, it carries both historical importance and collectible value. Its elegant design, connection to the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, and the enduring symbol of Britannia make it a must-have for British coin collectors. While not the rarest coin on the market, its strong demand in higher grades ensures that it continues to attract attention at auctions. So, if you have one of these pennies tucked away in your collection, take a closer look. You might be holding a small but meaningful piece of numismatic history. Next up, we're diving into a fascinating piece of British numismatic history. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1935. While at first glance this coin may look like an ordinary old penny, in reality, it carries with it both historical significance and collectible value. When preserved in fine condition, the 1935 penny can spark serious interest among collectors, sometimes reaching impressive values at auctions. We'll uncover its story, its rarity, and why collectors across the globe continue to search for this remarkable coin. The 1935 1 penny was minted during the reign of King George V, who ruled the United Kingdom from 1910 until his death in 1936. This period was marked by global changes, the aftermath of World War I, the interwar years, and the approach of World War II. Coins from the 1930s, therefore, not only served as everyday money, but also became lasting symbols of a turbulent, yet fascinating era in British history. The penny itself has been a part of British coinage for centuries, but by the 1930s, the copper penny had become a cultural staple. People used it daily for small transactions, yet today, surviving examples, especially those in fine condition, are no longer just everyday change. They represent history frozen in metal. The 1935 1 penny is instantly recognizable thanks to its classic Britannia design. On the reverse, Britannia is seated with her shield and trident, symbolizing strength, unity, and maritime heritage. This design, created by Leonard Charles Wyon, had been a staple on pennies since the 19th century, and by 1935 it was still strongly associated with national pride. On the obverse, the coin features the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal. The king's portrait is surrounded by the Latin inscription, Georgius V de Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex Fid. Def. IND. IMP, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. Made from 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc, the coin weighs 9.45 grams and measures 30.8 millimeters in diameter. Its substantial weight and large size make it a very impressive coin to hold in the hand. While the 1935 penny is not the rarest of British pennies, its value lies in condition and collectability. Millions were struck, but most went through heavy circulation, which left them scratched, worn down, and discolored. Finding one in fine condition or better is a challenge, making it particularly desirable for collectors who want coins with sharp details and minimal wear. The coin's appeal is further enhanced because it was minted just 1 year before King George V's death in 1936. This makes it one of the last full-year pennies struck during his reign, adding to its historical charm. Collectors often pursue it to complete their George V penny collections, which drives up demand in auctions and private sales. Now, let's talk about what everyone wants to know: the value. In heavily worn, circulated condition, a 1935 penny might only fetch a few dollars, typically between $10,200. However, when the coin is found in fine condition, its value increases significantly. Examples with clear portrait details and strong Britannia designs often sell for $17,500. If you happen to come across an extra fine or uncirculated example, prices can skyrocket. At auctions, high-grade specimens have been known to bring in $46,100 or more, depending on the sharpness of the strike and preservation. Collectors prize these coins not only for their beauty, but also for their scarcity in higher grades. For those interested in adding the 1935 penny to their collection, here are a few important tips. The clearer the details on Britannia and King George V, the higher the coin's value. Pennies that retain their reddish-brown or even full red tones are significantly more desirable. Buy from reputable dealers or auctions to avoid counterfeits or polished coins, which can lose collector appeal. Keep your penny in a protective coin holder or capsule to prevent further wear and environmental damage. Many collectors aim to complete an entire series of George V pennies, and the 1935 issue is an important part of that journey. The 1935 United Kingdom 1 penny is more than just a piece of copper. It's a piece of British history, tied to the final years of King George V's reign. While millions were minted, finding one in fine condition or better is a challenge, which makes these coins so highly sought after today. At auctions, they continue to draw attention from collectors around the world. So if you ever come across a 1935 penny in good condition, don't overlook it. It could be a hidden treasure, both historically and financially. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British coinage, exploring a rare treasure from the early 20th century. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1921. At first glance, this coin might look like just another piece of old copper, but when found in very fine condition, it can command impressive prices at auctions. Collectors around the world are willing to pay big money in dollars for well-preserved examples, and today, we're going to uncover exactly why. The 1921 1 penny belongs to the reign of King George V, who ruled the United Kingdom from 1910 to 1936. This was a time of great transition, as Britain was recovering from the aftermath of the First World War. Everyday coinage played a crucial role in the economy, and pennies were heavily used in circulation. Struck at the Royal Mint in London, the coin was produced in large numbers, but only a small percentage have survived in higher grades today. That's what makes them so intriguing. While many circulated freely in shops and markets, very fine condition coins are much harder to come by. The design of the 1921 penny is a classic piece of British numismatic art. On the obverse, we see the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal, which is one of the most recognizable monarch profiles in coinage history. The reverse showcases the iconic seated figure of Britannia, holding a trident and shield, symbolizing Britain's naval strength and empire. The coin is struck in bronze, weighing 9.4 grams with a diameter of 30.8 millimeters. These details make it instantly recognizable to collectors, and the patina and where patterns add character to each individual piece. While the 1921 penny is not the rarest date of the series, its appeal lies in condition. Most examples available today are heavily worn due to decades of circulation. Finding one in very fine condition is quite a challenge, and that scarcity is what drives collector demand. Coin enthusiasts, especially those who collect King George V series pennies, place a high value on such pieces, and they are always looking for coins with sharp details and minimal wear. As time passes, the number of coins in collectible grades continues to shrink, further increasing demand. So, how much is a 1921 1 penny worth in very fine condition on average? Circulated examples might fetch only a few dollars, but when the coin grades very fine, values can rise significantly. Depending on the market and auction, a 1921 penny in very fine condition can command between $65,100, and in some cases, even higher when bidding competition is strong. Exceptional specimens with particularly sharp details and eye appeal have been known to achieve even bigger auction prices, making this humble coin a sought-after treasure in the numismatic world. If you're interested in adding a 1921 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. First, always check the condition. Carefully look for clear details on the king's portrait and Britannia's trident and shield. Avoid coins with heavy scratches, corrosion, or damage. Second, consider professional grading if you believe your coin is in especially high condition, as this can increase its market value and desirability. Finally, always buy from reputable dealers or auction houses to ensure authenticity. Building a collection of King George V pennies can be rewarding, and the 1921 issue is a must-have for serious collectors. The 1921 United Kingdom 1 penny may not be the rarest coin in British history, but in very fine condition, it stands out as a valuable and historically rich collectible. With its connection to the reign of George V, its striking design, and its scarcity in higher grades, it continues to attract strong demand at auctions worldwide. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, keeping an eye out for coins like this could lead you to a treasure worth big money in dollars. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British coinage, focusing on one of the most historic and sought-after coins, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1915. Even in a worn and rusty condition, this coin carries remarkable significance for numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. Many people often overlook coins in rough shape, but when it comes to rare and century-old pennies like this, even a heavily circulated piece can hold surprising value in the auction market. So, Let's take a closer look at why this humble copper coin continues to attract attention and big money bids from collectors around the globe. The 1915 United Kingdom 1 penny belongs to the Edwardian and early 20th century era of British coinage. During this time, World War I was raging, and millions of pennies were struck to support the rapidly growing wartime economy. The coin features the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936. Pennies minted during his reign were highly circulated, and because of the war years, many coins were struck quickly and spent heavily in daily transactions. This means finding a coin from 1915 in pristine condition is nearly impossible today, making even well-worn pieces historically significant. The 1915 penny was struck in bronze, giving it a distinctive dark brown or reddish tone that changes with age and circulation. On the obverse side, you'll find the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal. His profile is easily recognizable, with the Latin inscription Georgius V de Jare, Brit, OMN, Rex FID, Def, IND, IMP surrounding the bust. On the reverse side, the design is equally iconic. Britannia seated with a trident in her left hand and a shield at her side, representing Britain's naval power and strength. This image was created by Leonard Charles Wyon and had become a traditional symbol on the penny for decades. Despite its worn and rusty appearance today, the coin still holds great artistic and historical value. While millions of 1915 pennies were minted, most were lost to time, melted down, or worn out through decades of use. Very few examples remain in good condition, and even fewer survive in collectible grades. Collectors are particularly drawn to these coins because they represent not just currency, but also a piece of World War I history. Even coins in rusty or heavily worn condition hold demand, because many collectors prefer to own an authentic piece from the wartime period rather than none at all. The rarity increases if the coin shows clear details despite wear, or if it has avoided major damage beyond surface rust and scratches. So, how much is a 1915 United Kingdom 1 penny worth today in worn or rusty condition? Generally, such coins can sell for anywhere between $15,000 in very poor circulated condition. However, in collectible grades, even slightly better than worn, they can climb to $17,500. Exceptional specimens in fine to extremely fine condition have been known to reach values over $46,200 at auctions. It's important to remember that collectors pay not only for condition but also for rarity, historical significance, and market demand. So even your rusty old penny could find a buyer willing to pay more than expected. If you own or are looking to collect the 1915 1 penny, here are a few tips. First, always check the coin's details, even if it looks worn. Clear legends, a visible portrait of King George V, and Britannia's outline can add to its value. Second, store the coin properly. Rusty coins can deteriorate further if not kept in dry, protective holders. Third, consider professional grading if the coin is in better than average condition, as this can boost its appeal to high-end collectors. Finally, keep an eye on auction houses and online platforms, where rare dates and historical coins like this often attract competitive bidding. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1915 is more than just a small bronze coin. It's a snapshot of history, a relic from the turbulent times of World War I, and a treasure for collectors worldwide. Even in worn or rusty condition, it holds significance and value, making it a must-have for anyone passionate about numismatics. If you happen to own one, treat it with care, because its story and demand in the market are what truly make it priceless. Next up, we're diving into a fascinating piece of British numismatic history, the United Kingdom 1 penny coin from the year 1940. Though at first glance it may seem like just another copper coin from the pre-decimal era, in very fine condition, this penny holds significant value to collectors, both for its historical importance and its demand in auctions. If you've ever wondered whether that old penny tucked away in a drawer could be worth more than its face value, the 1941 penny coin comes from a very interesting period in British history. Struck during the reign of King George VI, this penny was minted as the world stood on the brink of great change due to World War II. The coin served not only as currency, but also as a silent witness to the struggles and resilience of the British people during those years. Millions were produced to keep the economy running, but very fine surviving examples are far rarer than one might expect. This gives the 1940 penny a special place in the hearts of collectors who value both its historical context and its numismatic significance. The design of the 1941 penny is both classic and symbolic. On the obverse, you'll find the left-facing portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. His portrait is encircled by the Latin inscription Georgius 6d, G, Br, OMN, Rex F laughing face, IND, IMP, which translates to George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, the seated figure of Britannia is depicted holding a trident and shield, facing right, a proud and enduring image of British strength and identity. The denomination 1 penny is boldly inscribed, with the year 1940 placed at the bottom. Struck in bronze, the coin has a diameter of 31 millimeters and a weight of around 9.4 grams, making it a hefty and durable piece. While the mintage numbers for the 1940 penny were relatively high, finding one in very fine condition today is a true challenge. Most pennies from this era circulated heavily, which left them worn, scratched, or corroded over time. A coin in very fine grade means it has survived decades with only moderate wear, retaining most of its details clearly visible. This is what makes such examples so attractive to collectors. Because of its wartime background, historical associations, and the fact that high-quality survivors are not easily found, the 1940 penny has become a desirable piece among serious numismatists. Now let's talk about the part many of you have been waiting for: the value. A 1940 United Kingdom 1 penny in average circulated condition might only fetch a few dollars. However, in very fine condition, the price rises significantly. Collectors have been willing to pay anywhere between $20,000 for strong examples at smaller auctions. In some cases, if the coin displays particularly sharp details and a beautiful patina, the value can climb even higher, with select pieces reaching close to $35,800 or more depending on demand at the time of sale. While it may not compete with ultra-rare error pennies or low mintage dates, its solid collector base ensures steady market interest. If you're interested in adding a 1940 penny to your collection, condition is everything. Always look for coins with clear, readable inscriptions and minimal wear on the portrait of King George VI and the figure of Britannia. A coin that has retained much of its original luster will naturally be more valuable. It's also a good idea to buy from reputable dealers or auction houses to avoid counterfeits or misgraded coins. Storing your penny in a protective holder can help preserve its condition and maintain its value for years to come. Lastly, keep an eye on auction listings, as prices for very fine examples can fluctuate with collector interest and market trends. The 1940 United Kingdom 1 penny is more than just an old coin. It's a small piece of history that carries the weight of an era marked by resilience and change. In very fine condition, it stands out as a desirable and valuable collector's item, often commanding strong prices in the auction market. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just starting your coin collecting journey, this penny is a wonderful reminder of how everyday objects can become treasures over time. So the next time you come across a 1940 penny, take a closer look. You may be holding something far more valuable than you imagined. Next up, we are exploring a fascinating piece of British numismatic history, the United Kingdom 1 penny coin from the year 1920. While at first glance this coin might appear to be just another worn, old penny, it actually holds a special place in the history of British coinage and is sought after by collectors around the world. Even in worn condition, the 1921 penny can fetch surprising values at auctions, especially when rarity, historical significance, and collector demand come into play. So, let's take a deep dive into its story and discover why this coin is more than just a piece of change. The year 1920 was a very important one for British coinage. Following World War I, the Royal Mint introduced a major change in the metal composition of several coins. Before 1920, British pennies were struck in almost pure bronze, which consisted of 95% copper, 4% tin, and 1% zinc. However, from 1920 onwards, due to the rising cost of copper and other metals, the composition was adjusted to 95% copper, 3% tin, and 2% zinc. This marked the beginning of a new phase in penny production, making the 1920 penny a transitional and historically significant issue. The obverse of the coin features King George V, who reigned from 1910 until 1936, while the reverse depicts the iconic seated Britannia with shield and trident, a symbol of Britain's maritime strength and tradition. The 1920 penny was part of the last era of large, heavy pennies before the system changed dramatically in later decades. The 1921 penny carries several distinctive features that set it apart. On the obverse, you'll find the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram Mackennal, with the inscription in Latin surrounding his bust. The reverse, designed by Leonard Charles Wyon, shows Britannia seated on a rock, holding her trident with the Union Jack shield by her side. One of the most eye-catching aspects of this coin is its large size. Measuring around 30.8 millimeters in diameter and weighing about 9.4 grams, it has the substantial presence that older British pennies are known for. Even in worn condition, Collectors appreciate the sheer character these coins hold, from smooth edges to faded inscriptions. Every mark tells a story of its journey through countless hands over a century ago. When it comes to rarity, the 1921 penny is not the rarest British coin ever minted, but it does have a strong demand in the collector's market. Its importance lies in being among the first pennies of the changed composition era, making it historically appealing. Millions were struck at the time, but due to circulation and the heavy wear from use in everyday transactions, finding well-preserved examples has become increasingly difficult. Collectors are particularly interested in coins that still retain clear details of George V's portrait and Britannia's design. Even though a worn condition coin may not command the highest premiums, it still holds value because of its age and the historic transition it represents in British coinage. Now let's talk about the exciting part: the current market value of the 1921 penny. In worn condition, like the coin we are focusing on today, it can typically fetch anywhere between $8,500 depending on overall wear and clarity of details. However, if you find one in fine or extremely fine condition, values can rise to around $15,600. And for collectors lucky enough to come across an uncirculated or mint state example, the value can climb into the hundreds, sometimes surpassing $55,100 at auction. It's important to note that auction prices vary widely based on demand, rarity of condition, and buyer enthusiasm. Even a worn example can surprise sellers when bidding wars break out among determined collectors. If you're looking to collect the 1921 penny, there are a few tips to keep in mind. First, always check the coin's condition carefully. While worn coins are still collectible, coins with sharper details and less wear naturally attract higher value. Second, ensure authenticity by purchasing from reputable dealers or auction houses, since counterfeit older pennies do exist. Third, consider storing your coin properly in a protective holder or album to prevent further damage, especially if it already shows signs of wear. Lastly, be patient. Prices can fluctuate, and sometimes waiting for the right auction can yield better returns. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1920 may not be the rarest coin in the world, but it holds an undeniable charm and historical significance. From its role in marking the change in metal composition to its bold and iconic design, this coin is a treasure for anyone passionate about British history and numismatics. Even in worn condition, it remains valuable, with prices at auction often exceeding expectations. For collectors, owning a piece like this is not just about monetary worth, but about holding a tangible piece of history that has passed through generations. So, if you come across a 1920 penny in your collection or pocket change, don't dismiss it as just another old coin. It might just be a small piece of history worth more than you think. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare coins, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos on historic treasures worth big money. Until next time, happy collecting.